Okay. There's the end and credits. GreedFall has been conquered. And yeah, I honestly gotta say that I enjoyed the bad ending, air quotes, uh, more than that. I don't think either of the endings were that interesting, that compelling, or uh, providing me the sort of conclusions that I was personally looking for. But I suppose they do make the effort to cap off whatever stories are there, and there's that. There's like hardly any mention of Desarde, which is kind of strange to me. But I guess it's fine. I honestly, I feel like the whole ruling as two gods thing was very similar, if not not ultimately the same. But whatever. So for my overall thoughts on Greedfall, I would say I like the game. I had a great time playing it. I'm absolutely certain that there are a variety of uh, situations in the game where I could say, yeah, I wish this was a little bit better. This could be a little bit more polished. I would have enjoyed it more if this happened as opposed to that. But uh, I would say that the core of the experience was very enjoyable to be a part of, and it's just all the little things that could be improved that are what I guess weigh it down a little bit. For the story, was it satisfying? I'm gonna say no. the The ending does not really leave a satisfying or memorable uh, conclusion to things. I will say that part of that is probably due to some of the choices that I've made. However, healing the Malachor was not really what I personally was setting out to do. I was there to be a friend of the natives and get all these Suckafu uh, uh, or colonizer peoples, out of there. So that was my goal from the very beginning. I'm gonna go here because the music on the title screen can flare up and whatnot. Um, when it comes to, I guess, the overall experience, I should actually add this. If I valued the journey as much, and I would say the journey of this game is definitely where it's at. The ending is not satisfying at all, but the journey to get to the ending was an enjoyable experience for me. Did it feel complete? I will say it felt complete. They hit the major notes of the story. There's just, I guess, some important questions that are left out about the main character, and I do wish that there was something a little bit more to be talking about that kind of stuff. How was the pacing? I think the pacing was fine. There are a couple of instances where I think you need to. There are a couple of instances where I think you need to do side quests for the natives in order to progress the story. Obviously, this is not something that I encountered, but it's entirely possible that is the case, and that could be a big halt into a nice swift pace. Thoughts on the story? Story has some great moments of ramping up between Constantine slowly getting sicker, the coup attempt, and the revelation of the church were all fun to come across. I also like that there are dialogue changes for certain choices made. Some characters remark on past choices I've made, which has affected their current reasoning. So I really do think that this game hit some really nice, we'll just call like end chapter marks. Constantine, like it being revealed that he has the Malachor, that was kind of cool, and I think they built up to that kind of nicely. I didn't even initially put much weight or value in him having the Malachor. It's just like, oh, someone poisoned him or something like that, and it must have been Lady de l'Orange or Morange or whatever her name is. Because she was the previous governor and politics and all that other stuff. I totally suspected her, but it turned out to be the Malachor, and that was a nice. I don't want to say twist, but a nice bit of motivation to kind of delve deeper into some of the other aspects of the game. And then the coup attempt, that was super cool. I wasn't expecting that. I imagine there was no way you can expect that. Maybe if you did the Kurt quests, you might have been able to start catching wind of it. But the coup was pretty cool. I like that you can kind of choose which towns to go save, and in a sense, like how much you're going to negatively impact your enemies there, which was an interesting aspect to it. And then the last one, the revelation of the church, where, like their whole faith has been basically built on, I don't want to say a lie, but like everything that they've been taught has basically kind of been put over. Everything basically needs to change based off of a small revelation that, you would normally look at that and be like, okay, that makes sense. But the people of this world can be cruel and unreasonable, as we have seen with many of Inquisitors from the Ordo Luminous, which is a great name, by the way. I might have to take that for myself. Ordo Luminous. I dig it. Strangely enough, I like how the story develops, arriving on a new island, helping out the natives, and revealing how horrible our colonization attempt actually was. I'm just going to read this as is. All of converging on beliefs of the natives to potentially save it all. I guess all of it converging on the beliefs. Yeah, I like how the story ramps up. It kind of puts you in situations where you're gonna need to help the natives. I think, me personally, they kind of forced that situation more. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting if you were actually choosing sides based off of the natives and the settlers, basically. But something I'll get to later is I enjoyed all of my interactions with the natives. I have so many questions about specific elements and how they are all affected by decisions. If I didn't choose the natives to heal Constantine, would he have gotten captured? I like when games present these questions. I might have to go look up some YouTube playthroughs of this to see if anybody else chose any of the other healers. I have a thinking suspicion that the other healers are just going to say, oh, we can't do anything, and you're going to be forced with Karasash. But if that's not the case, I really feel like that could drastically change the direction that this game goes. Now, based off of what I've seen of this game, is that likely? Heck no. But the possibility is still there, and that could lead down a path of replayability right there. And that might be the sole reason, is just to see if those decisions actually have an impact. But again, like, I personally think the odds of that are less than 5%. The side quests affect the main story in some interesting ways, such as removing the Archbishop from power and preventing him from convincing the Cardinal. This was really, really cool. I'm assuming it does work this way because he just wasn't there, and the quest specifically mentioned that we would have to watch out for the Archbishop, or whatever his name was. I really like it when you do side quests and they actually specifically matter for the main story, or maybe even just main story decisions. And so being given the option to give him the boot and have him not turn the Cardinal away from the truth of the church was super cool. I digged it a lot. Let's see, considering how many side quests are related to helping the natives, I get the impression this game wants the player to sympathize with the natives. And you're darn right I sympathize with them. The settlers are a bunch of sucker fools. I feel like this is just a historical thing. Anytime you're going to go to a new country and you're going to encounter cultures and I guess religions and ideals that are foreign to you and that you don't understand, you're probably not going to approach those situations in the best possible manner when it comes to colonization. And I think history, real history, our history, has shown that to be the case. And I think the history in GreedFall has shown that to be the case. People are sucker fools, and it was really nice to be on the side of the sucker fools, but still be able to help out the people that are being oppressed and taken advantage of and attacked and enslaved, basically, by the people that I represent. And in some cases, me being able to lay the smackdown on the sucker fools and say, like, nah, I don't stand for that. I'm taking your life. I had a good time with a lot of that. Let's see. I wish there was a little more build-up and more interaction with Vinbar. He was a powerful and mysterious character, and we basically only get 2 scenes with him. His ability to not only answer questions, but reveal more information about the natives would have been extremely welcomed. I found this definitely disappointing. I liked a lot of the information that came about the natives, and I liked learning about the natives. And this guy is essentially the most powerful and arguably the most knowledgeable of all the natives because of his position. And I would have loved to have conversations with him, whether they were antagonistic or not. But I would have loved to understand more of his role from his perspective, why he's doing the things he's doing, what he's doing, and how he affects the entire island as a whole. those types of perspectives from powerful individuals was somewhat lacking in this game when it came to Constantine and when it came to Vinbar. And even NL Mil Frictamen to some regard as well. For writing, I enjoyed a great deal of the conversations in this game. That being said, there's often not enough of a resolution to them. Some just end mid-conversation, others fail to elaborate on the next course of action. So we kind of touched on this a little bit. Mana said in the chat that there wasn't enough information on the ending. And I kind of agree with that, and it kind of delves into that particular point that I just made, that some of the, well, I would say a lot of the dialogue in this game and a lot of the situations you're put in kind of feel like they're rushed, and not rushed in a hurriedly way, but rushed in the sense of, if I need to find a rock and then after I find it, I pick it up. Like those are the two goals that I need to do. I feel like this game just gives you those two goals instead of a natural progression or a natural curve to picking up the rock. I don't necessarily feel the journey to find the perfect rock and then pick it up. Instead, I just look on the ground and I'm like, that rock works. And it's a different way of storytelling, but it feels like shortcuts in this game. Like the implementation feels like shortcuts. It feels like there could have been so much more dialogue that elaborated on so many conversations and so many situations, but like it feels like all of that was written and then it was taken out to make it more condensed. It's a very strange and weird feeling when exploring this game, and it's a writing, I guess. The level of trust being earned was pretty silly at times. If you find this trinket I lost, I'll let you steal some stuff from my master's home. Yeah, people were very quick to trust in this game. I know we were Ono Manawi, and we had some people that were there to vouch for us a little bit, but in the same vein where I feel like there were some shortcuts, or there was a little bit of a rushed feeling to some aspects of it, things like that felt like you need to build the trust, not just do a side quest and then you're trusted. I think that's actually a really good example of what I was trying to describe previously, of like the rock example. There needs to be some in-betweens that actually matter, that lead up to the end. That way it's just not the beginning and the end abruptly. For characters, the portrayal of the natives might have been my favorite aspect. It was great to see how we represented a large evil toward them, and in some ways, it was up to me to repair the relationship. And I'm just going to read this one too. I also really like the lore and effort that went into the natives, from having their own language and religion to their unique way of life and outlooks on the island politics. The natives were absolutely my favorite aspect of this game, and I just enjoyed interacting with them. They were all very like down to earth, which I'm not saying that as a pun, but I recognize now that I said that it's a pun. But they were very calm and collected, and they saw things from a very I don't want to repeat myself, but they saw the situations from a perspective that I personally felt attached to, and I really liked just all the interactions with them. They were just wonderfully done. I wanted to learn more, which was why one of the reasons why I was so disappointed with the whole Vinbar situation is I feel like there was so much to learn from the natives, and I just wanted to get it all. I think I did all of the native side quests, if not all, or most of them. For gameplay mechanics and design, what gameplay elements stand out? I like what was done with the points you get from leveling up. Getting a skill point every level, and attribute and talent points every few levels after that. This was a really cool way to go about this game, and I appreciate it a ton. You know, like being able to gain a small or sometimes significant boost in a goal that you're trying to achieve is very nice. And then you have these other goals that are related to the goals that you get every level that kind of choose a path that you want to go down as far as like equipment, but also a little bit of utility. And then you have a third separate path that ultimately affects how you interact with the world around you, whether it be talking to people or gaining access to certain areas or crafting or helping out your combat a little bit. All of these things were, I think, separated very well, and the weight of them were actually fairly interesting, and so I liked that a lot. The talent points were some of the most well-enticing options I've ever seen. I felt like every one of those could be extremely useful at the right places. Yeah, I am super pleased with how they did this. At the very beginning of the game, it was a very difficult decision to figure out where I wanted to put my first few points, because I felt like everything was very useful. If I had to say which would be more powerful now that I've beaten the game, charisma and intuition are likely the most important as far as getting the most story and I guess putting yourselves in favorable positions. But also, on top of that, they do other things like reduce prices or give you more ingredients. They're just super strong in of themselves, but the other options are also fairly strong. Being able to craft your own potions is very, very important. And being able to craft armor upgrades is pretty useful. Vigor is probably the least useful of them all, but in order to go a variety of places and do a variety of things, I can definitely see where vigor is helpful, especially at the final upgrade where you can increase your maximum carrying capacity, which is nice. Lockpicking, I would probably say that lockpicking is also on the spectrum of not as useful, but when it was useful, it was incredibly useful. Being able to pick locks to gain entrance to certain areas or open up certain chests was very nice, even though largely it was unnecessary. Being able to disarm traps didn't come up very often, but when it did, it was quite useful. And then no longer springing traps was it got me a little confused at one point, because I was walking over traps and I was like, what is all this going on? And then I started disabling traps and they were going away and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I was very pleased with the talent system and just the whole point, attribute, skill, talent system as a whole. I think they did a really good job with this, and I think if they maybe changed up the attributes a little bit to maybe not lock certain equipment behind the attributes, might be a little bit interesting, but there's plenty of opportunities to respec with memory crystals, so yeah. A great deal of things revolving around items and equipment I wasn't a fan of. The inventory system is cumbersome. It just takes too much time to swap out individual pieces of equipment. Additionally, the advanced view only shows the first weapon instead of all equipped. So, changing out equipment is kind of obnoxious in this game. You know, if I have a brand new two-handed weapon, I have to double click on the weapon I want to swap, find it, and then double click on it to get it. And then if I want to swap something else out, I have to back out and go to the next one and repeat the process. It's not very intuitive. It's not very easy to manage. If there was like a little side box over here that just showed all of my equipment and I just double clicked it, or maybe I dragged it over or something like that to help me out, that would be immensely easier to navigate. It just isn't fun to go through this, and then comparing stuff is also kind of difficult, because what do you value in these armor pieces? And I've kind of struggled with that as the game has gone on, and there's still a variety of things I don't understand. Buying and selling is also a time-consuming process. I would have loved to see some sort of checkbox system as well as a sell all button. I would have appreciated that a lot. I don't even know if I have this in here, but I'm also going to add, I wish there was some sort of outfit system. There is, I don't want to say there's encouragement, but by giving me certain outfits, no, I'm going to say there's encouragement. By giving me certain outfits that offer certain bonuses like clients or lockpicking, or allow me to pose as certain factions, I feel like it's important to have those options quickly accessible. And by maybe pressing a button or going into a certain menu, I can quickly dress up as one of those factions, or quickly put on one of my outfits. I would have valued that greatly. I loathe the weight systems with a great passion. In fact, I'm making that a cardinal sin right now. The fact that 100 of my 200 weight limit is just my equipment isn't fun. Just remove weight systems. I don't like weight systems at all. I mean, we can even see right here, like I have 21 weight right there. I have a weapon over here that's 16, so that's 37. I don't have very much equipment here. And most of my weight limit is gone. You know, like I have nothing, not much to work with here. And I personally, I get why people argue that a weight limit should be there. But for me, I just don't feel like it matters. To be able to pick up all the items in the world and then choose to go sell when you feel that is necessary, or you feel that works out best for you, is putting the agency in the player's hand. A weight limit is just basically saying, oh, I picked this up, now I can't run. Well, I guess I'm walking back to a shop so that I can sell them so that I could run again, get some money, and go back to looting things. It's just not a fun experience to go by. It doesn't feel good dropping a piece of equipment so that you can go sell them to come back to find out that piece of equipment's not there anymore and you missed out on money, which this game, I have a lot of money right now, but there's not a lot of money in this game. So just do away with weight systems, please. Or if you're going to have a weight system, you could do like some other games that I've played where there's an option to just turn it off. That's great too, Let's see. I would have loved an auto loot feature. Yeah. Looting stuff has not been very nice in the large scheme of things. Some things I weren't able to loot. I feel like there's just a lot of opportunity to add those tiny little quality of life features to make the moment to moment gameplay better. Words. The level of your companions is equal to the level of the main character. Super cool way to handle party levels. I have never ever experienced a system like this to my knowledge, and this is a brilliant way to do this. Now granted, I'm not really a fan of how they do this. There's really no control over your party members. You cannot spec them in the way that you want to. In that particular aspect, I wasn't a fan of. But ultimately, I value the leveling system as a whole far greater than being able to spec them in the way that I want, because since I'm not punished for choosing certain characters, I can swap them out for the characters that I feel are necessary for any given situation, which is my entire argument of backup party members getting full experience. And I feel like this game never punished me for choosing one particular character over another. And if it ever did, it was always my fault because I chose that character. So very, very pleased with how they did that. Absolutely phenomenal. A lot of games could take cues from GreedFall in this regard. I enjoyed that there wasn't an over-reliance on talents. While I maintain the charisma and intuition are the most relevant, it was cool to see science, vigor, and crafting used in ways that were exploration and story relevant without being required. I kind of touched on this already, but it is very cool to get a quest to go into a warehouse and I can dress up as a member of that faction to get into the warehouse, and I don't need any of those talents. Or I can have science and I can blow a hole into the warehouse and magically nobody hears it, and I just sneak inside and grab what I need to. Or if I have like vigor or something like that, I can cross a little tree and sneak inside that way. Or if I have crafting, I can build a bar stool or something. I don't know. It was nice. I like that. There were many instances in both main and side quests that offered the ability to instantly travel to the next destination. While I wish it was utilized more, I appreciate that that I was given a lot of those options. There were definite, like, more towards the end, I think there were more opportunities for that. But the fact that it exists is important to note, and I value that it exists far more than I value the desire to want it more. It's such a nice thing to have, and the places that it was put in are nice. Let's see. There are stats that I don't know what they mean. Recycling percent, loot chance, even balance is something I don't quite understand. So I think the more that I've spent a little bit more time with this game, I believe recycling chance is, since you only have a percentage chance to get the items from a recycle back, I'm guessing recycling chance increases that. And for loot chance, I honestly have no idea what that is. I don't know what balance does. I assume it helps you not get knocked down. Now that I'm looking at balance and stun looks like balance, only it's tipped over. So maybe if your balance is higher than the stun of the attack, then you don't get knocked over. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But I do wish there was more documentation on this kind of stuff. You know, this sort of combat basics is not very helpful. There's very little information on what to do and what happens here, and I'm gonna get into armor in a little while, so we're just gonna keep that up right there. For combat, not sure how it happened, but I was getting my butt kicked very early on. Then I went two-handed swords and I was still getting my butt kicked. Then all of a sudden, out of what felt like nowhere, I was mega strong, except for the tail wagging guys. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what happened there. The two-handed sword is so slow. It's probably not the best choice to go with, but man, does it feel good to just chunk an enemy for 900 damage, and it's amazing. I love it a lot. But I have no idea where my overpoweredness came from. I wish the enemy variety was bigger. Fought against a lot of badger guys, so I do want to go in here. How many enemies are there? So all of these guys are basically the same. You know, they have the same, they look the same attack patterns. These guys are basically the same. Well, these guys are kind of different, but they're basically the same. These guys basically the same. I have the Tenlin. We have these guys are the tail wagging guys. I don't like those guys. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 enemies that are animals, basically. And they have certain varieties, but they're more or less the same. There's an alpha, which probably just does more damage. There's a spitter and or a poison one. And then there's just like regular ones, basically. I wish there was more enemy variety. There are humans added in there, but if you really want to put that into perspective, there's only 3 more of those. You got the melee, you got the ranged, and you got the magic users. When it comes to the bosses and stuff like that, I had a great time with the bosses. I thought these were all incredibly well done, and had a great time fighting them, especially when I probably shouldn't have been fighting them, like the early part of the game. But I do wish there was more enemy variety. More animals would be my solution to that. Maybe less variance and just more animals, or make the variance of the animals more varied from their normal form, I guess I'll say. Armor kind of reminds me of Mana Barrier from Fey Tactics. It's annoying. Yeah, so I'll just read this too. Now that I have a two-handed sword, armor seems weird. Is it just straight damage reduction or something else? For some reason, I'm not killing the armor first anymore like I was early on. So, I don't quite understand how armor works because at the beginning of the game, I felt like with my one-handed knife or dagger, I was cutting through the armor before I was doing damage to health. Now, I don't remember that 100%. I could be a little wrong, but I feel like that was the case. But as time progressed, I felt like I was doing 70 damage or 40 damage to armor, and then hitting the enemy were like 300 damage. And then when their armor was gone, I was hitting them for 900 damage or 1,000 damage. And I'm not 100% sure what armor actually does. It just feels like more HP. And Fey Tactics does it in a kind of obnoxious way where it's basically like double or triple your HP. And in this game, it kind of feels like that, but it's not as consistent, or at least I didn't feel it was that consistent. I just felt like sometimes I'm chunking a guy for 600 and sometimes I'm chunking a guy for 200 and I dealt some damage to his armor. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Counterattacking seems inconsistent for me. I'm not sure what exactly triggers it. I've tried attacking and pressing the counterattack button a second time while in animation and it's not clear to me. So yeah, I thought I read something about counterattacking where you counterattack if it's done at the right time. But I have no idea what the right time is. There are so many different attacks and there's so much going on that it just felt inconsistent on how I was going about it. I never quite nailed it down. There were a couple of fights where I was kind of getting it kind of nicely, but it just wasn't working out for me. For dungeons, I don't think I really have anything for dungeons that annoyed me or I thought were, fantastical or anything like that. The dungeons were fine. I was not bothered by them. They were not inflated by backtracking. They didn't go on for too long. They were fine. For cardinal sins, inventory weight limit. That's a new one added for this game. There were some instances of forcing the player to use certain party members, but I am going to add that one. This was very early on when we were getting party members, and it wasn't that big of a deal because I did want to try out those party members as soon as I got them to see if I would have liked them, but for a lot of the instances where they were forcing their way into my party, I don't think they needed to be there. So it didn't seem like it mattered. And I do have the one removing a key party member without sufficient replacement. And I'm specifically referencing the end of the game here where they removed all my party members so I can have a one-on-one fight. And I don't think I'm going to Cardinal Sin this game for that, but I really do wish games would stop doing that. It's just, it feels like a conflict. If you're spending your entire game building up your party and making you and your party as strong as possible to reach the final conflict, the pinnacle of the game, and to then just lose all of that, it's super annoying. It it doesn't make any sense to me. And this game definitely did not provide a reason that I felt satisfied with for getting rid of my party members. But games rarely do. For miscellaneous sound and music, I like the music. I would say that I didn't hear a lot of tracks that I felt particularly drawn to. A lot of it felt very atmospheric, so it was very fitting for the game and the situations that we were being put in. I felt like the combat music was very aggressive. You know, it worked for the combat, and I liked how it ends too. It ends with like the drums, so and like it adds a nice little um, like a climax end, I suppose, drop off to the combat. It was nice. For the voice acting, I find the voice acting to be quite good. I really like the accents as well as the pronunciation of the words. This was one of the things that really helped draw me into the natives, especially because I have no idea what country this game was made in, and I have no idea the nationality or the countries that the voice actors hail from. But the way the way they conveyed their emotions and the way they spoke their words just felt like the natives to me. It didn't feel out of place. It felt like a perfect fit, and I liked that a lot. I do agree with past comments that the lip sync can be improved. However, I was not bothered by it. This is That's not something that I normally pay much attention to. People are talking up here, the subtitles are down here, and I'm usually looking at the subtitles. So I don't pay too much attention to the lip sync, but I do notice it. It just doesn't bother me hardly at all. For graphics, I like the visual style of the game. I do think there's I don't want to say an exorbitant amount, but there there's probably more gray than I would have liked. But there's plenty of lush forest lands and things like that to go through. Maybe it's not gray. Maybe it's more brown. Maybe there's too much brown. But regardless, um, I, I I still like the look of the game. It looks fine. It looks good. There is an issue with lighting where you leave a building and outside is mega bright for a few seconds, which is pretty obnoxious. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but that's not fun. I don't like fade to whites, and that was it felt like worse than fade to whites because you know like you're in this dark room and all of a sudden you're just bombasted by that. Replay value. Does the game offer any additional story content in a second playthrough to warrant playing the game again? So I I mentioned this before. I think there's less than a 5% chance that that the end of the game is is different based off of um, the choices that seem to I guess point in that direction. But I kind of think that it's worth going through to see if those changes are actually there. So maybe not replay value, but seeking out what the other choices do. Because if if there if there's even subtle changes to how the end of the game works based off of choosing a different doctor or choosing different clans and things like that, that could be pretty big as like for all those things to stack on top of each other. But again, it's it's a small chance of that happening. And if the developer is watching, Definitely a solid game, and I enjoyed my time with it. I feel like a lot of effort went into the game, so that's a cool thing to experience. I don't think it's. This is going to sound kind of weird and maybe a little insulting, perhaps, but I feel like there's a lot of games out there that I've played where I play them, and I don't really feel like a lot of work went into them. It felt like a good experience, or it felt like a good game to play, and I recognize all the great elements of it. But that feeling that a lot of effort went into it is usually not prominent for me. But I felt that in this game for whatever reason. I know that Spiders is arguably an indie studio, and I really do get the impression that this game just put a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of care into a lot of the things that went into it. And for some reason, I just got that impression and that feeling from it. There are a lot of quality of life improvements that I wish were available, especially for inventory management. Anything to get the player to spend less time in menus and more time out exploring. This game definitely needs a lot of quality of life improvements. Um, I will begrudgingly say that they are not necessary, but um, when so many little things stack on top of each other, they become a greater issue than something that may be a big deal. Um, the little things they poke and prod at you, where like the big things they just punch you in the face. But if you got 1,000 needles in you, that punch in the face is probably not going to hurt that much. But I digress. I'm definitely interested in a sequel. I think what I would desire the most is technical and mechanical upgrades, the implementation of quality of life features, more diverse tools for playing styles, and varied weapon play styles. So I was trying to think of what I would want from a sequel from this game, because I like the talent system as far as how the points work. And I was thinking to myself, what is the best way to make those systems more engaging or more fun for me? And um, having a weapon variety, but also that variety changing your play style in a way that's just not slow and fast, would be very interesting to me. Um, if I have a dagger and it's naturally a fast attacking weapon, maybe my animations for them are poking, and maybe I'm doing stabbing damage instead of slashing damage. And maybe that's important for how armor values are interpreted. And whereas if I have a blunt weapon, maybe that's doing crazy amounts of armor damage, but maybe not as much piercing armor damage. Whereas maybe if I have a gigantic two-handed sword, maybe I'm cleaving through and doing a ton of health damage, but not a lot of armor damage, or something like that. Um, for all I know, that's how this game works. But there's nothing really to explain it that way. Um, I guess I want a few more play styles. I don't feel like being a gunner is a thing in of itself, and I think it would be really cool to be a gunslinger. Maybe a dual wield type of build would be kind of cool. Sword and shield, one-handed and shield would be pretty cool. Taking magic down a different path. Maybe you have your healers, maybe you have your buffers, maybe you have your damage dealers, you have your crowd control. There's a ton of avenues that you can go into, change up the combat a little bit, and make things a little bit more diverse within combat. I would also say having more control over your party members. I would love to be able to uh, choose the characters that I gravitate to the most and then build those characters to fill the holes in my party composition. Because, you know, I like choosing characters that are cool. Sometimes you have Afra in the party and like, well, she has a rifle and she's least likely to run in and die, and so we're gonna just choose her. But yeah, just to reiterate my thoughts, I'm quite pleased with the game. I had a great time playing it, and I would say I liked it. It was fun. Um, I think that's all I got. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. It was a solid 3-hour stream. I actually got some time out of this one. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back. I'm gonna say Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, for some more video games. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See ya tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Tuesday. Peace.